We are at Liberty Reservoir, which is in Baltimore County, and we are here to hear some of the sounds of the water. This is an artificial, man-made reservoir that supplies water to a lot of Baltimore County, especially the parts that aren't supplied by Loch Raven Reservoir. As you can see or hear, there is plenty of water. We're going to stop here for a little bit and just take in the sounds of the water, and I'll pan the camera so you can see more of this majestic body of water. If the camera can capture the sounds of the wind, it is because we're also in an area that has lots of pine trees. And since pine trees keep their needles all year around, it is very easy to hear the wind flowing through each little pine needle. As we continue, you can also hear the leaves on this oak tree. And just take it in. Sometimes even if I'm here, I close my eyes just because it's so relaxing. I hope the sound isn't all muffled because of it blowing into the microphone. But it is definitely one of those times where the wind is actually making such a soothing sound. It is easy to tell what I'm doing as I walk through the dry oak leaves that are on the forest floor. But if you take something like this pine branch that happens to be in the ground right now, it's one of those things where you can actually hear the pine. Because of all of the different pine needles. And this pine specifically, which we see far above us, very tall, it is a white pine. And the reason you can usually tell it's a white pine is because if you pull out one of its little bunches of needles, let's see if I can do that. If I pull out a little bunch, it'll usually have 5 needles. And the camera isn't doing really good at capturing them right now. And there it has them. Regardless, white pine does have 5 needles, so if you do find it, you can count 5 needles. Just like the word white has 5 letters, white pine has 5 needles. Now in a few weeks, I will not be able to walk where I'm walking right now because all of this will be undergrowth. It's starting to get warm enough right now that the undergrowth will take over, which will provide refuge to many animals and food for many animals as well. If you can take a look right now at this mark on the bottom of this young tree, it's usually what shows you evidence that there are beavers here, and they chew and they gnaw, and they might come back later and chew and gnaw until they either break it and drag it into the water, or sometimes they take upon a bigger task. Trying to see if we can capture the sounds of the forest floor. There's a lot of dry stilt grass. Chinese stilt grass is an invasive plant, but it looks pretty. It's just one of those things where it doesn't have any natural animals that eat it here, so it just kind of grows a little bit out of control. As we continue, we have a holly tree here, and as you can see, all the leaves on the on the forest surface are green. It is an evergreen. And by these leaves, you can see this isn't something any animal would want to eat with all them thorns. It is also American holly, which is it has more of a matted finish. If you ever see European holly, it's a darker green and it's shinier. And it also exists in Maryland because European holly, and we had European settlers come, so they brought their plants along with them. As you can see, a lot of the trees that are in Liberty Reservoir, much like any other reservoir or lake on planet Earth, when they are too close to the water, they do erode and fall full trunk into the water. And if we take a look, we can see that it just kind of ended up breaking apart and falling. It still adds a lot of times good places for painted turtles or sliders, which is another type of turtle, to come up and be able to enjoy things like sunlight. And if you've ever been out any place where you can go fishing or there's a pond, you'll sometimes see when it's sunny, the turtles do come up and they do enjoy the ends of branches or trees, much like this one. And then as soon as people approach them, they will go very quickly back into the water. But it is important, even though it seems kind of insignificant, it's important to understand that even something like this is important for our ecosystem, for things like turtles, for animals like turtles that do like to bask in the sun, since they are reptiles and they can't make their own body heat, unlike us. So if we take a look, here's the end of the tree that actually fell and broke off from a bigger part. There's a couple of different trees that grew on here together, and it broke in such a way where you can see the water underneath it. I think that's very interesting to see. And like I mentioned earlier, for aquatic turtles, it's something that's basically a perfect sunbathing area for them. Listening to the sounds of the water, even in this calm with no wind, can be very relaxing. Water gives life to everything in this planet. So there's a certain peace and tranquility that you can get from hearing it when it's calm. Water, wind, two of the best things to experience when you're going for a walk outside, whether it's Patterson Park, whether it's Patapsco, Gunpowder, any of the parks in our area. They all have at least some form of water, wind, and greenery. All right, as you can see, there are all kinds of things you can find in the woods. There are definitely some bird feathers here. And then if you look over here, there are fish scales, which look like either somebody was fishing, but yeah, it's most likely that somebody was fishing. An animal wouldn't just scale a fish before they ate it. But you can just listen to that sound that the scales make. And then if you follow me over here, you can see a pine cone. There are many around here. This one actually hit me on the head. And as you can see, they hold their seeds, and under certain conditions, they come out and they float in a little helicopter pattern. Luckily, the ones that we have here just do it naturally. Some places they have redwoods, sequoias, and other evergreens might need forest fires to get their pine cones to pop. There are definitely some interesting sounds around here. One of them, if you look at that tree right there, that's in the water, it's hollow. So every time the water hits it, it makes a droppy sound. It's pretty cool. That's definitely an interesting sound. Sometimes I think that human instruments might have been made by people imitating the sounds of nature. I hope you guys think that this sound is as interesting as it sounds to me, for your own listening pleasure. So here we are at the end of our walk, and this is a part of Liberty Reservoir where you can get to easily. It is in between the two bridges on Liberty Road if you're going towards Eldersburg. It's just a matter of looking it up on Google Maps. There is a water treatment plant near here, which is where they treat obviously the water for human consumption. And this is one of my favorite places to go because it's not a strict hiking trail. It's more of a, you can come around and wander at your own leisure if you like to take photographs. Sometimes, you know, if you go hiking and it's a strict hike, you lose touch of some of the things in nature because you have a plan to go from point A to point B. But if you just meander around the woods, sometimes I find you can find some incredible things. You can look for, you know, once it starts getting a little bit greener outside, you can find all kinds of amphibians. There are salamanders and frogs, and sometimes you get to see reptiles. You know, you get your ringneck snakes and skinks, and sometimes you get fence lizards, which I've seen in Maryland. Like I mentioned earlier, on the tree you would get turtles. So it's really wonderful to just take your time, just walk around. You know, if you want to take photographs, if you want to just take it in your head as a memory, that's fine too. And it's just a lovely place to come and check out. If you like mushrooms and all kinds of fungi, also I recommend it. Bring a camera because you have some bright oranges and yellows and reds. So if anybody has any questions about how exactly to get to this place, please find a way. And my email will be available to Honey Brown, so you can ask her, and then she can get in touch with me. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this.